What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I want to talk about two dynamic fighters, Freddie Miller and Johnny Pena. Now, Freddie Miller would become world champion. In a moment, we're going to discuss who he defeated and at what weight division. But in the meanwhile, I want to discuss Johnny Pena, because Johnny Pena does not get any recognition. I can almost guarantee you don't know who he is. And it's my responsibility of the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series to shine light on fighters who have been forgotten. So Johnny Pena, true name was Angelo Pena. He was born April 24th, 1912 in Portugal, Spain. He died April 7th, 1978 in Brooklyn, New York. He had total bouts of 128 fights, 73 wins, 17 knockouts, 35 losses. He was knocked out 8 separate occasions himself, and he would suffer 20 draws. Now, he began his professional debut October 4th, 1929 against Sindulfo Diaz. And Diaz would have a fighting record coming in at 23-10-1, and they would face one another at 106th Infantry Regiment at the Army, Brooklyn, in New York. Now let's back up one moment. The date October 4th. Because October 4th was the same date that the great Sugar Ray Robinson, a.k.a. Walker Smith, would begin his professional debut at Madison Square Garden. But that took place in 1940. And he'd be on the undercard of the great Henry Armstrong and Fritzy Zivik for the World Welterweight Championship belt. He was the third fight that night on that card. And he fought a fighter by the name of Ray Escoveria. Now, records say Joe Escoveria. The man's name was Ray Escoveria. Like I said, he fought October 4th. And this was at the lightweight, this Sugar Ray Robinson. But Johnny Pena would face Diaz October 4th, 1929. Then he would face Archie Bell in New York's Madison Square Garden. And he would defeat him twice, and he would have one draw with him, all in Madison Square Garden. He would have one win against Pete Herman. Pete Herman had a fighting record coming in at 13-17-5. He would face him at the Valley Arena. Now, Pete Herman was a phenomenal fighter out of New Orleans. Now, I knew someone who was personal friends with Pete Herman. And he was kind enough to donate a tremendous amount of memorabilia to me. And I had thousands of hours of discussion about Pete Herman. So I know all there is to know about Pete Herman. And he was a phenomenal fighter. He was a bantamweight. And before the end of his career, he would actually get into the featherweight division. But he was an outstanding fighter, was Pete Herman. And I'm going to show you him towards the end of this video. Now, May 26, 1932, he would have faced Tommy Paul. Tommy Paul had a fighting career record of 57-7-6. Fought him at the Olympic Stadium in Detroit, Michigan. And this was for the vacant National Boxing Association for the World Featherweight Championship. Very important fight. August 1st, 1933, he would face Claude Wagner. I'm going to show you him as well. He had a fighting career record of 31-16-11. Fought him at Foreman's Arena in San Jose, California. He would defeat him. He would face Midget Wargast on 2 separate occasions. Fought him at Dreamland Auditorium twice. And at that time, Midget Wargast had a fighting career record of 139-14-11 and 139-14-10. He would face Freddie Miller. I'm going to show you him as well. And that's the fighter that we're talking about today. He would face him February 18th, 1936. And he had a fighting career record coming in at 176-16-5. Fought him at Crystal Pool. We'll get into Freddie Miller in a moment. But Johnny Pena would also be in there with Pete Scalzo, another good fighter. Al Reed. Sammy Angot. Sammy Angot, one of the greatest fighters of all time. He would be the holder of the NBA Lightweight Championship. He would get that belt by fighting with his 2 fists and defeating all fighters in front of him. He would defeat Luther Slugger White for that belt. Now, Freddie Miller. Now, he was born April 3rd, 1911 in Cincinnati, Ohio. He died May 8th, 1962 in Cincinnati, Ohio. He was a southpaw, a featherweight. He had total bouts of 222 fights. Unbelievable. 185 wins, 45 knockouts, 29 losses, and he would stop 2 separate occasions himself. He would suffer 5 draws. But he would face Chester Brown on 3 separate occasions. He would defeat him all 3 times. Jimmy Harris, another good fighter, faced him 5 times. Defeat him all 5 times. Tommy Paul. Tommy Paul would become champion. He would win 3 and lose 1. He would face Speedy Dado, outstanding Filipino fighter. Baby Arizmendi. He would lose to him. Baby Arizmendi, an outstanding Mexican fighter, would face Henry Armstrong on 5 separate occasions. And Baby Arizmendi would be champion as well. He would hold the California and Mexican featherweight championship. He would face Cecil Payne, who would defeat him. Lou Feldman defeat him. P.D. Sharon. He would win 3 and lose 1. Now, P.D. Cerrone would lose his featherweight championship belt to Henry Armstrong in 1937. And he would retire after facing Sammy Angot. But he was an outstanding fighter, was P.D. Cerrone. I'm going to show you him as well. Sammy Angot, he would lose to him. Simon Chavez, he would lose to him once, but he would defeat him twice. Leo Ruddock, he would lose to him. Aldi Spaldi. He would defeat Aldi Spaldi, and Aldi Spaldi would be the opponent that Henry Armstrong couldn't knock out in 1937. You see, Henry Armstrong would face 27 fights in 1937. Unbelievable. He would knock out 26 opponents, and he went the distance once. And Aldi Spaldi was that opponent. And Freddie Miller would defeat Aldi Spaldi. He would defeat Freddie Red Cochrane. Freddie Red Cochrane would become the welterweight champion in the world. Freddie Miller would be in there with Maxie Fisher. He would defeat him. Jackie Wilson, defeat him. I'm going to show you Jackie Wilson. Jimmy Vaughn, outstanding fighter. I'll try and show you him. He would defeat him, and he would lose 1. Everett Reitmeyer, another good fighter. He would defeat Everett Reitmeyer. Claude Bonner. He would defeat him twice. I'll show you him. Johnny Pena. It's the man we're talking about today. He would win 1 and lose 1 to Johnny Pena. He would face him at the Oakland Auditorium, January 15th, 1936. At that time, Johnny Pena would have a fighting career record of 71, 24, and 14. And that was a magnificent fight. And Johnny Pena showed him in both fights what he was made of. Because Johnny Pena could fight. He was a dynamic fighter, was Johnny Pena. And he'd fight him February 18th, 1936 in their second fight. This was at Crystal Pool. And he would have a fighting career record coming in at 69, 24, and 14. This would be for the NBA championship. September 9th, 1935, he would face Eddie Zivick. At that time, Eddie Zivick had a fighting career record of 33, 6, and 3. Outstanding career did Johnny Pena have. I just wanted to briefly get into his career because, like I said, he's briefly mentioned. I only hear about him from the old timers. And I thought it would be just as important that you know about Johnny Pena's career as well. Now I'm going to show you some of the opponents as promised. Baby Arizmendi. He was a phenomenal fighter. He would hold the Mexican and the California featherweight championship. He would face the legendary Henry Armstrong 5 separate occasions. I have him in my top 20 greatest Mexican fighters of all times. Baby Arizmendi. Fantastic Mexican fighter. I wanted to show you him. Jackie Wilson. Outstanding fighter out of Pittsburgh. Jackie Wilson could fight. He was a phenomenal fighter. and he being there with Freddie Miller. But Freddie Miller couldn't get rid of Jackie Wilson. Too much hand speed. I just wanted to show you Jackie Wilson. Pete Herman, a phenomenal fighter out of New Orleans. Now, Pete Herman could punch. He was a phenomenal fighter. And he being there with Freddie Miller. But he also being there with Johnny Pena. He could punch with either hand. And Johnny Pena was able to defeat Pete Herman. And at that time, Pete Herman had a fighting career record of 13-17-5, and he fought him at Valley Arena. Now this is early on in Pete Herman's career. But he could fight. Petey Cerrone. He was the featherweight champion in 1937. And he would lose his title to the great Henry Armstrong. But Petey Cerrone would be in there with Freddie Miller several times. And what great fights these two men would have. Just wanted to show you Petey Cerrone. Claude Bonner. Very, very good fighter. He being there with Freddie Miller. Speedy Dotto. Freddie Miller would mix it up with him. And I just wanted to show you some opponents of Johnny Pena and Freddie Miller. So thanks for hanging in there with me. This is Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series, stating all great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Salute to these great fighters. Freddie Miller and Speedy. Here you have Speedy Dotto. But Johnny Pena. Salute to my subscribers. Salute to these great fighters.